Bruchot habaot, ladies, and welcome to another edition of Torah Anytime, and to all of you who are joining us here at Ohel Sarah. It's so good to see you again. We haven't met concerning the Shlom Bayit classes in a couple of weeks. We have a lot to do. The last time we met, we discussed the mystical insights of marriage as brought down by various rabbinical sources. And today we're going to continue with part 2 of mystical insights. We left off by saying that a man is the giver. He's the mashpia in the relationship, and the woman is the recipient, the mekabel, of all the man's influences of ruchaniyut. When a man gives to his wife, the wife becomes an integral part of him, and he takes care of her in the same way that he would consider one of his limbs, the way he would take care of one of his limbs. That aspect of marriage, where a woman becomes part of her husband, can only happen when the man is giving to her. And that giving is called ahava. But a man who throws around the word love, thinking that he's going to be giving when he intends to be a taker, that's not love. That's a love of self. It's not a love for his wife. It's not a love for the marriage. True love reveals itself when we see how much you're willing to give and to nurture, and not how much you want to take. That's why Chachamim point out that whenever there's a problem that arises in a marriage, it's a revelation of the husband's true interaction with his wife, in the sense that he hasn't succeeded in giving of himself properly, thereby not connecting his wife to him the way she's supposed to be connected to him. We find, therefore, that this wonderful edifice called zugiyut, this partnership, this relationship, in actuality is built in various stages. Stage number 1 is the giving and nurturing that's mutual. The fact that the man is giving of himself, that's when he completes himself, because when he gives, he's resembling the Ribono Shel Olam. He's resembling the Creator, who is the all-time ultimate giver. And that giving demonstrates to his wife how much he really loves her. And that love makes the woman so happy that because of the state of her inner joy, she's able to reveal all of her positive traits, all of her amazing qualities. Those qualities is what helps nurture her husband and give back to him and to the children. And in so doing, the woman also comes to a full state of inner completion. That's stage 1. Stage 2, when the strengths of a woman are revealed, her husband begins to appreciate her. And that makes him want to give her more. That makes him want to establish an even closer bond, an everlasting bond. And moving on, the pasuk in Sefer Bereshit states, Zachar unekeva bera'am, vayevarech otam, vayikra et shmam Adam. When analyzing this pasuk, we immediately see that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the first human being, the language that's used is Zachar unekeva, which implies 2 individuals, Zachar, a male, and female, nekeva. But then the pasuk ends saying that he called them Adam. Adam is a singular individual. Well, are they separate or are they one? Are they Zachar unekeva or are they Adam? So in order to understand the pasuk, we have to understand 2 words. Shutfut, which means a partnership, and achdut, which means togetherness. What's a shutfut? A shutfut is where there's some joint venture. In other words, I'm the focal point of a particular venture, and I allow someone else to join me in that venture in order for me to achieve my desired aim. For example, if a person, we'll call him Yosef, wants to invest in a business, but he doesn't have the necessary funds, he could choose a business partner, a shutaf, who will invest with him the funds that are needed for that business venture. And with both of their funds, they can open up a business together. Now, in that example, the objective of each person is to become independently wealthy. But because Yosef didn't have all the funds necessary all by himself, he decided to bring somebody else into his business venture. So we find that each of these investors is only interested in the funds of the other and not in the partner himself. Each one wants the other's money so they can go into the venture and make money. In such a case, when a problem arises in this shutfut, in this partnership, or if Yosef finds a more suitable partner with better conditions, he can easily change his existing partner with someone else. That's the essence of a shutfut, of a partnership. Now, let's talk about the idea of achdut, togetherness, a union. Achdut comes from the word echad, which means one. In other words, it's two people that come together in order to become one. For example, imagine a platoon of soldiers that received a particular order that they have to conquer enemy territory. In this scenario, the objective is what stands at the center of the mission. The focus is to save their nation from the surrounding enemies. There's no personal interest on any part of a particular soldier, like in the case of the partnership that we discussed earlier. Rather, the entire platoon of soldiers functions and acts around that central and unified objective, which is to conquer enemy territory. In such a case, all the soldiers have to unite and become one powerful platoon. We find that in this case, it seems that some external but elevated objective can turn the many, that whole platoon, into one, where we're going from the Rabim to the Echad, to Echad. In other words, each one of the soldiers in that platoon is needed for that mission. Where if one of them is, God forbid, under the weather, the others are going to rush to tend to him and take care of him, because each particular soldier has a designated function for this important mission, and that soldier can't easily be replaced with somebody else. And it could very well be that without that soldier, the objective won't be accomplished. And even in the case, by the way, if one of those soldiers hurts another soldier's feelings, the one who's hurt isn't focused on the insult or on vengeance, because the entire platoon is busy with a higher purpose. There's no room for petty arguments and hurt feelings. Now, that idea was actually revealed to us in the Torah HaKdosha. When? At Har Sinai. The Pasuk says, Vayichan Yisrael tachat hahar. And Am Yisrael encamped at the foot of the mountain. Now, if you look closely at this Pasuk, you're going to notice something very interesting. First of all, if the nation is encamped near the mountain, it goes without saying that there must have been many of them there. If that's the case, why does the Pasuk use a singular lashon? It says Vayichan. The word Vayichan is singular, as if to imply that there was one person there. But then we're told, no, Vayichan Sham Yisrael, that the entire Am Yisrael was there, the whole Klal Yisrael was there. Yisrael are many. So why the singular lashon for the entire nation of Am Yisrael? Chachamim explain that the reason why the Torah chooses a singular lashon is to teach us that Am Yisrael united as one for an elevated purpose. And that purpose was Kabbalat HaTorah, the receiving of the Torah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That achdut is what transformed the many into a single unit. Now let's apply this entire concept to the idea of marriage. Is the coming together of a couple considered achdut or shutfut? Is it a union or is it a partnership? Because interestingly, when people speak about marriage, most people use the phrase, I'm choosing a partner for life. How accurate and amazing is this phrase that people instinctively use because they don't even know what they're going into. Why? I'm going to explain it to you. Because the man and the woman each feel like they're the focus of the relationship, they feel like they're in the center. And amid their own center, they're willing to adjoin, to attach someone else to them who's going to be their partner. And they do that because they know that without that partner, they cannot acquire their goal, whatever that goal may be. And in that situation, we find that this couple simply opened up a business together, and that alliance is called a shutfut. They are now shutafim. They're like business partners. And the implications of that partnership will be exactly like a real business relationship, whereby each of them thinks that his needs stand at the center of the relationship, while the partner is only there to fulfill those needs. So in such a case, if there's the slightest insult, the slightest pagiyah, there won't be any room to forego that insult or to move on. Why? Because there's no elevated purpose that unites that couple. When there is no purpose, when the couple comes together as shutafim, as partners, in such a partnership, it's very easy to change your partner when you think that there's a better one out there for you. For that reason, we find that the divorce rate has skyrocketed all over the world. But the Torah is teaching us that a couple has to function from the place of achdut and not from the place of shutfut. It has to be a union and not a partnership. The pasuk in Sefer Bereshit says, Al ken ya'azov ish et aviv ve'et imo ve'davak be'ishto ve'hayu levasar echad. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. We learn from this pasuk that the idea of marriage is to transform two people into one. V'hayu levasar echad. But even deeper than that, the Zohar Kadosh reveals to us that each of the partners is called a peleg gufa, which means half a body. And only when they come together can they become a unified, singular, and complete entity. That's why, by the way, I don't know if you ever noticed, only when a couple gets married and they're standing under the chuppah already do we give them the blessing of Baruch Ata Hashem Yotzer HaAdam. Very interesting. In light of this, we could also understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu's meaning behind the words in Sefer Bereshit when he created the first human being, where the pasuk says, Zachar u'nekeva vera'am vayivarech otam vayikra et shmam Adam beyom hibar'am. Male and female he created them, and he blessed them, and he named them on the day that they were created. Now notice the manner in which this pasuk was written. The first human being was created dual mode. Although he was comprised of two entities, that being a male entity and a female entity, but because they both have a mutual and elevated purpose, They don't remain individual entities, but rather HaKadosh Baruch Hu adjoins them and calls them both Adam in the singular Lashon. So what's the supreme purpose that every Jewish couple should possess, that because of that purpose it transforms them from individuals to being echad, to being one? Well, let's find out what that purpose is. The supreme purpose for every Jewish couple is very similar to the example that I gave you of the platoon of soldiers whose main purpose is to conquer the enemy. A Jewish couple's mission is to fight hard and to do battle against the enemy out there and do whatever they can to vanquish the enemy, so that ultimately they can draw down the Shekhinah HaKadosha into their home. That's what the Rabbanim tell us in the Gemara of Sotah. What does it say? Ish ve'isha zachu, Shekhinah shoya benehem, lo zachu, esh ochaltan. If the couple is worthy, the Shekhinah rests literally between them. And if they don't merit, the fires of strife and conflict will consume them both. So we find that the foundation of a real union between a couple, a real achdut, the one that is going to bind them, isn't the fulfillment of their personal needs through the other one, through the other person, but rather each one has to help the other conquer his yetzer so that they can both draw down the Shekhinah HaKadosha to their home. Chachamim also reveal to us that there has to be a zchut in order to draw the Shekhinah into the home. What is this merit? What is the zchut that the Rabbanim refer to that can help draw down the Shekhinah into your home? We mentioned earlier that a couple who truly understands the purpose of marriage, they come to the realization that they have to unite for an elevated purpose. When a couple is united for an elevated cause, that helps them to be more forgiving towards each other. It helps them to surrender to one another when need be. It helps them to behave in a respectful and dignified manner. That's what creates a zechut for the Shekhinah to dwell in their home. But if the couple isn't worthy, lo alenu, lo zachu, and their marriage turns into a simple partnership, into a business deal where each one is stubborn and demands that his needs be met, then you know what happens? That couple turns into two single individuals that are simply just living together for some superficial reason. That's all. Such a house turns into a place where the fires of strife and conflict is going to consume them both. That fire even consumes whatever good traits are to be found in each of those individuals, and neither of them can see the good in the other any longer. They can't see the good in each other. So we can now understand the manner in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose to phrase that pasuk in Sefer Bereshit. Zachar unekeva vera'am vayivarech otam vayikra et shmam Adam. In the Hebrew language, we find that words can either be written in the singular form or in the plural form. For example, shulchan is singular, one table, shulchan. Shulchanot is more than one table, it's a few tables. But the name Adam can only be in the singular form. There is no plural form out there for more than one Adam. You can't say Adamim. You can't say Adamot. Instead, the plural form of Adam actually consists of two words. Bnei Adam. Bnei Adam means more than one person. But only when these Bnei Adam merit to unite can they be called in the singular form. Only then can they be deemed as Adam. Here lies the foundation and the root of the words in our pasuk. Vayevarech otam Elokim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed them. In other words, because the couple merited to unite, to create a union and not a partnership, the Shekhinah is now shoya benehem. And in a place where the Shekhinah resides, you could be sure that there's going to be beracha, there's going to be blessing. Now, moving along these same lines, besides the purpose of drawing down the Shekhinah into your home by uniting and becoming one, being, like I said, be'achdut, instead of having a shutfut, there's an additional purpose to marriage. What is that purpose? That purpose is to have the zechut to draw down a godly neshama from the kiseh hakavod, from the throne of glory. Since the couple united correctly and managed to draw down the Shekhinah, that union is now elevated all the more, and this couple supersedes the entire creation, and that they can now bring down to this world a holy neshama, a spiritual and high soul that has a tselem Elokim that was created already from under the throne of glory. No other creation can do this. I don't know if you even thought about it. Only human beings were given the power and the merit to draw down to this world other human beings who possess elevated neshamot that originated under HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Kiseh HaKavod in the Shamayim. Only the human being can draw down a neshama that possesses a tselem Elokim. And only the human being, when he was created, was classified as having a tselem Elokim. And when the couple unites correctly, when there is achdut between them, when they're living their life with an elevated purpose, when the couple is working on their midot and they surrender to one another, when they show kindness and respect towards one another, when there's kedusha in the home and the entire house and relationship functions with the idea that the purpose is to draw down the Shekhinah and keep it in their midst, you know what kind of holy neshamot are brought down into this world? You know what kind of supreme light resides in that little baby that an ish ve'isha that were zoicha created? Tzaddikim are created. Good kids with holy spiritual genes that are going to become the light onto this nation into the next generation. Moving on, this union of a man and a wife in partnership with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in which that partnership results in a neshama coming down to this world, is the reason for the mitzvah of kibud avaim, the mitzvah of honoring your father and your mother. Because simply speaking, this mitzvah is based on the idea of hakarat hatov, where a child has to appreciate the endless good that his parents gave to him, chad v'chalak. Because parents invested so much in their child, therefore the child has to bestow honor upon them and respect them, midah keneged midah. They were good to their children, the children now have to be good to them. Now, although hakarat hatov is a very good place to start when we're talking about the mitzvah of kibud avaim, there are two problems that could arise that contest this mitzvah. First of all, what happens in the case where the parents didn't raise the child from the minute the child was born? The child could say, well, they didn't raise me. They didn't invest an iota in me. So why should I adhere to the mitzvah of kibud avaim when it concerns them? Did they raise me? Did they invest in me? No. And although that's a very valid point, believe it or not, the Torah HaKdosha still obligates the child to honor his parents even if they didn't raise him or invest in him. Why? That's number one. Secondly, very interesting point, a child could come along and say, well, if the basis for this mitzvah of honoring my parents is because I have to be grateful for everything that they did for me and everything they invested in me, let me just simply write out a substantial check, a big check, and I'll pay them back for their entire investment. That way I don't have to be liable or obligated to honor them. I'll just pay them back. And although this is also a valid point, the halakha still says that you can't just pay your parents off and be rid of this mitzvah to honor them. The question is why? Chachamim explain that the fundamental reason for the mitzvah of honoring our parents stems from this amazing and elevated union that they have, and the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu became their partner in the creation of a precious neshama that came down to this world. And since HaKadosh Baruch Hu is part of that amazing and holy union, we're obligated to bestow honor upon HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In other words, the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave your parents the great honor of becoming a partner with them in creating you is reason enough to bestow them with kavod. Your parents merited to be partners with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why even if you write out a substantial check to your parents for everything they invested in you, and even if they didn't raise you, but you still have to honor them because they are partners with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we find proof of this in the Aseret HaDibot, the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments were divided into two groups. One group consists of 5 commandments that are categorized under mitzvot ben Adam lamakom, mitzvot that concern man's obligation and relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. While the other group that consists of the other 5 commandments are mitzvot ben Adam lechavero. These are mitzvot that concern man's obligation and relationship to his fellow man. Now, interestingly, the mitzvah of kibud avaim, the mitzvah of honoring our parents, is in the group that concerns our obligation to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, that's something we have to wonder about. After all, shouldn't this mitzvah be classified as a mitzvah ben Adam lechavero? It's a relationship, our relationship with our fellow man. But no. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees to it that we realize that this one mitzvah of honoring our parents is rooted in the honor of Hashem. Because the Gemara of Kiddushin informs us that there's a 3-way partnership that involves the mother, the father, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu when it concerns the creation of a child. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu places this mitzvah in the category of a mitzvah that's ben Adam lamakom. Hashem wants the children to understand and realize that He's a partner with their parents, that the parents merited to draw the Shekhinah Kedosha down to the home, and for that alone, they have to honor their parents. Hear this? Moving on. In Parashat Bo, we're told that when Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom informed Paro about the 7th plague, which was Makat Arbe, the locusts, his advisors told him the following. They said to him, Haterem teda ki avda Mitzrayim, Paro, don't you know that Egypt is lost? They managed to convince him to summon Moshe Rabbeinu back to the palace in order to negotiate and let the Jews go at least to worship God in the desert. So when Moshe Rabbeinu stood before Paro, Paro asked, Mi v'mi ha'olchim? Who and who are going? And Moshe Rabbeinu answered, B'ne'arenu u'vizkenenu nelech, B'vanenu u'vivnotenu, B'tzonenu u'vivkarenu nelech, Ki chag Hashem lanu. Moshe Rabbeinu said, with our youth and with our elders we will go. With our sons and with our daughters, with our flocks and with our cattle we will go, for it is a festival of Hashem unto us. And then Paro replied saying, Lo chen, lechuna hagvarim ve'ivdu et Hashem, ki ota atem mevakshim, vayigaresh otam et pnei Paro. Paro says, not so. Let the men go and worship God, for that's what you're really requesting. Goodbye. And then he chased them out. Goodbye, Moshe and Aaron. Now that's very interesting if you think about it. Egypt had already suffered 6 plagues at this point in our story, and the advisors are telling Paro that if this 7th plague emerges, there may not be anything left of Mitzrayim, and their advice is what prompts Paro to have an audience with Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron Cohen. And what happens during that meeting? Paro makes a big fuss about who's going now to worship in the wilderness, and he demands that the children stay and they shouldn't go with their parents. Who in the world would be willing to undergo another heavenly plague on such a small little matter of whether or not the children are going to accompany their parents on this 3-day worship in the wilderness? But when we analyze this episode, Chachamim explained that Paro specifically wanted the children to remain in Egypt so that they shouldn't accompany their parents, so that the children shouldn't witness with their own eyes how it is that their parents are worshiping HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Do you hear this? Paro's objective was to create a disconnection between parents and their children, between one generation and the next, so that he could instead connect those children to the new upcoming generation of Egypt and all their tumah, all that impurity. And as a result of that, the children would assimilate, and that would be the end of the Jewish people. So we can now understand why Paro was so stubborn when it came to letting the children go along with their parents. He was so stubborn concerning his ideology and his objective that he was willing to undergo another plague and possibly destroy his own country in the process. So what do we learn from this episode? We learn that if any person out there, any ruler, will want to destroy an entire people, he should first disconnect the children from their parents. He should first disconnect the previous generation from the following one. And if he manages to do that, he'll most likely succeed in his mission. So we come to a very clear conclusion from this episode of Paro, and that is the following, ladies. If we want to preserve the eternalness of the Jewish nation, we must instill Torah and pass it on to the next generation. By teaching our children Torah, we're connecting their generation to ours. Chachamim say that this too is the elevated purpose of the Jewish home. One of those elevated purposes is to preserve Yahadut, to transmit the Torah from one generation to the next, so that Judaism has a fighting chance of surviving the challenges of the Galut. So I'm going to conclude part 2 of Mystical Insights by saying that in order to have the zechut of having the kind of marriage that's built on the foundation of achdut and not shutfut, unity and not a partnership, it's necessary for the couple to come together towards one elevated purpose that we mentioned several times. The couple must unite in an endeavor to draw down the Shekhinah HaKdosha and to create a partnership with the Ribono Shel Olam, where Hashem assists them in the creation of children. Then the purpose is to infuse those children whom HaKadosh Baruch Hu bestowed upon us with the necessary tools of Ruchaniyut in order for them to maintain their neshamot as Jews in this world. And we could do that by purpose number 3, transmitting the Torah and love of mitzvot to our children. When our children see us engaging in spiritual matters, when they see a home that's functioning on the basis of Kedusha and Torah, that's going to help the child remain connected to his roots and to the previous generations. Not only that, but when HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees how much the parents are making an effort to maintain a Jewish home that is built on the principles of everything that is Kadosh, the husband and the wife then merit to be called Adam. Once they are called Adam, Vayevarech otam Elokim. That's when all the brachot from Shamayim begin to flow down into their life, and they become the recipients of all the good from Hashem that they earned through their unity, through their achadut, through the ahava, through the giving and the nurturing. So, Bezat Hashem, ladies, the next time that we meet, we're going to discuss part 3 of Mystical Insights of Marriage, and we're going to discuss the Isha, the woman, from a more mystical perspective. More specifically, Chava, who had 2 names. She was called Isha and she was also called Chava. After that, we're going to proceed to the subject of meddling parents and outside interferences, and we're going to end our series, at least for the year. We'll continue the next year with other subjects. We're going to end the series with the subject of distribution of chores and the functionality of roles in the Jewish home. Until we meet again, I want to wish you all a Shavua Tov and a wonderful, wonderful day filled with bracha and siyata dishmaya.